10 to 10 is the time. You know, big names from history often inspire projects in the present day.
And the band you're about to see created an entire album based on the likes of Oscar Wilde, Marie Curie, Leonard Cohen. Let's take a look.
Well, joining us now is the lead singer of Bastille, Dan Smith. Good morning
Morning, Dan.
to you.
Thanks so much for having me.
You look like you're having fun there.
Yeah, it was really fun. This whole album process has been just a really lovely thing to be part of.
Why ampersand?
So the ampersand, the and sign, every song on this album is about a pair of people or a pair of ideas. People that I'm not a history nerd, but people that I think are fascinating. So there's like Oscar Wilde and one of his partners. There's Marie Curie and her relationship with polonium. There is Narcissus from the Greek myths who fell in love with a reflection of himself. There's this amazing Chinese pirate queen called Cheng Yi Sao, who no one knows about, but she was the most successful pirate ever. Just a whole host of people who I think are amazing and wanted to write these songs about these kind of... It sounds really different. It's sort of raw and intimate and quite acoustic. But, yeah, just trying to sort of drag these amazing people that we sort of may know or may not know into the modern day.
I think, you know, people, or maybe me, you think of musicians, you think, OK, they've got some inspiration, they go into a room and, you know, they tinker around until something comes to them. But you went and got in touch with Emma Goose from You're Dead to Me.
Yeah, Emma Goose,
which is a fantastic
amazing
series.
It's a really brilliant show. Yeah, so Emma writes and produces the show, and she's absolutely hilarious and brilliant. And I got in touch with her because I was worried that I was maybe falling down a path of famous 20th century couples, and I wanted to try and write songs and think for the album and for this bigger project about people that maybe I hadn't heard of and people that maybe history has forgotten or remembers for the wrong reasons.
But if you haven't heard of them, how personal can you make the music? Or do you kind of fall in love with those stories and then get your inspiration?
That's the thing. I think what's so fascinating, like, history can seem really dry to some people, but actually it's just, you know, it's like, it's gossip. It's the things we tell each other. It's everyone who did amazing things also kind of messed up, had affairs, you know. I wanted to try and get with these songs the kind of messy reality of life. And so sometimes, you know, I sort of felt a bit weird speaking about some of these people, but I sort of wanted to find what's the, like, interesting human thread, what's the commonality, what's the thing I wanted to ask them back through time in these songs.
You should have been here yesterday, Dan, because we had the producers and an actor from Horrible Histories.
Oh, no way! How was that?
You know, you were saying about that thing about it making it alive, not dull and interesting, and you probably know, maybe you've seen that series.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's what they do, you know, and they bring comedy into it as well.
Yeah, totally.
But they were very good, by the way. But this is taking you on a bit of a journey as well. Geographically, you've been to some amazing places.
Yeah,
I think now, are we going to see you in the Bermuda Triangle? Is that?
Yes.
Do you want to explain, and then we'll see it?
Yeah. So here I am. So earlier this year, I was invited by Greenpeace to go to the middle of the Bermuda Triangle, to the Sargasso Sea, to learn about the deep oceans and why they need protecting. And while we were there, we had a break for about half an hour, and there were these amazing filmmakers there. This guy Tavish Campbell, and I pitched him this idea for this video. I was like, look, I've got this song. It's the introduction to this new album that I've made. If I put all my clothes on and a life jacket and I swim as far out as possible, can you do this shot? Can you start on my face? Can you pull out, twist around, and you know?
That's presumably from a drone.
There's a one shot in a drone. I had the song at double speed because I was going to make this video in London on my bike. Never in my life did I think I'd be in the middle of the Bermuda Triangle. And yeah, we shot it in one take. The captain of the ship, who happened to be from Ukraine, he came out and was like, what's this guy doing in the sea? Get back in. So I swam back in, and we just to check if we got the video, and we managed to get it in one shot. So that's the sort of introduction to this album.
Tell us about Narcissus, because there's a story behind that.
There is, yeah. So there's a song called Seasons and Narcissus, and it's a kind of really beautiful, earnest love song. But in the Greek myths, Narcissus falls in love with a reflection of himself, and I think...
Hence narcissistic.
Exactly, and I thought it would be... I guess I wanted to make something really beautiful, but I thought it would be quite funny to have a love song to ourselves, particularly, you know, living in the age where we do, where we're constantly confronted by our own image.
And worrying about your likes on social media.
But that's why, Emma, who works on You're Dead to Me, as well as giving me loads of these ideas and pointing me towards stories, we also have made a podcast together called Muses, an ampersand podcast, in which we kind of look at the lives of these real people, all these you know, mythological people, and she's hilarious. She rinses me, but also very thoughtfully examines, like, why does history remember these people or not? And what does that say about the society that we live in at the moment? So it might sound a bit dry, but because she's so funny, the podcast is also actually very funny.
I'll tell you what, Dan, your industry, there are a few narcissists in your line of work. Would that be? Do you think? Is that unfair? What do you think?
And in yours as well?
No, I think it's a fair comment.
Yes.
You know, anyone who has in the public TV or music, there's a lot going on there, isn't it?
There is a lot. There's definitely a lot to unpack. But I also think just that because we all, you know, I'm surgically attached to my phone, and I think we all are. So we're kind of constantly confronted by our own image, and it's hard not to, you know, figure out what your version of that is, what your relationship with that is.
So have you? That's interesting. So you still big into your phone and that stuff? Because some people are trying to step away a bit.
I do my best. I've tried to come off social media, you know, every now and then. But yeah, I guess, you know, for me, as someone who's very fortunate enough to, you know, to be in a band and get to travel and I'm away a lot, that's my sort of lifeline to home, right? So it's easy to slip into spending too much time on it, for sure.
I read that you aren't as big a fan of big gigs as you are of being in the studio.
Yeah.
Is that true?
It is, yeah. I think I love, and with this album, what's been amazing is having the time and space to sort of to write. I wrote most of this at home at the kitchen table, and we've done a lot of touring over the last 10 years, and obviously it's such a privilege to get to play on these big stages.
Well, because the fans are the ones that support you and they get to see you.
And that makes it tangible. The idea that someone would give up their evening to come and you know, spend time with us is really amazing. But personally, I don't love being on stage because it's weird, and I get quite nervous. So, but for me, getting to sort of learn about these people, getting to sort of sit at home, put my headphones on, work on my computer and make these songs, that's sort of the space where I feel really
There will be a young person watching today, Saturday morning, kind of getting ready and thinking, I love Bastille, but I can't believe he's nervous.
Yeah.
I get nervous, but I'd really love to do what he does.
Yeah.
How do you overcome those nerves, or how do you put it in a place so that someone can think, OK, that's a strategy I could use?
That's such a good question. For me, I always try, because we've played gigs right from the start, you know, we've played everything from like pubs and clubs, slept on friends' floors, right through to arenas. We've been so lucky, but from the very beginning, it's both the support of the band and the crew and our friends, which is amazing, and, you know, trying to focus on the audience and thinking how amazing that they chose to spend time with us. But for me, I always like imagine that I'm Eminem, which is insane. But so I've always like jumped in the crowd. I think I relate more to being in the audience than being on stage. So I'd always like run in the crowd surf, dance with everyone there, climb up on the speakers, often get stuck. And yeah, I guess in my head I'm Eminem, which obviously I'm not, and the music is very different. But that's sort of my way of like of my sound.
Bastille and Eminem.
Nice.
That's like a pub question. What's the link between Bastille and Eminem? It's really lovely talking to you. Good luck with the album,
Thanks so
Dan.
much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're all done for this morning. Of course, breakfast back tomorrow at 6 a.m.
Have a good weekend.